Hello y'all on YouTube, this is Rob with Rob's Nerdy Knives. Today I wanted to do a quick caged ceramic ball bearing swap for with skiff washers, and also to kind of replace the clip here. I know some of you guys love this clip and that's cool, but it's really wide and it's catching in my pocket really strongly. I'm not digging that. If nothing else, I might be changing it just because it's a thinner clip, quite honestly. And so sorry for you guys who love that, but also we'll see if we keep this because these edges are crazy sharp here. I'm really disappointed in that, but that's another story. But needless to say, it's kind of a cool knife. This is the 229 Redencion. I believe this is with the Kickstop. You can see it hides and goes away, but man, the detent on this is really strong, which I don't know, some people may love. You know me, I'm not a big detent fan, so we're going to get right into it. So what I'm going to do is take off the clip here. We're going to probably put this on at the end, and then we're going to take this apart and look at the internals, and then we're going to replace the washers. So let's go ahead and do that. I believe these are all T8s, but let's double check. T8s, 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 yep. T8s. All right, so I have two of my screwdrivers because it's not a captive pivot, so I might have to actually use both of them to release it. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. All right, so the screws come through here, so they're pretty long screws there. That's cool. Now they're pretty flush with the knife. They did cut them out a little bit so they go pretty deep. All right, let's see which side we can take off here. That's a pretty loose screw there. Is it coming? Oh, it is coming apart. Okay, so it looks like it's coming off over here pretty well. So let's do that. All right, and it's pushing apart right here now. So there we go. All right, so this is the Kickstop right here. You can see right there like that. Very interesting. Let's clean that up a little bit. And here are the washers. As you can see, let's make sure the light's on there. You can see that definitely have a little dirty. I mean, these are made washers, so I mean they're pretty good. They're not bad at all. I don't want to say that, you know, oh, these are garbage. No. But you know, the thing is, if anybody here who has had skiff washers, they're just a little bit better. I mean, the tolerances are ridiculous most of the time. I mean, there's a few times. I have another re-out knife by Leon Ma. Changing the washers didn't do anything for it. Now, taking it apart and cleaning it, absolutely 100% it did. And you know, we may have that scenario here with this knife. Just taking it apart might be fine. I mean, but once I put the skiffs in there, it may not do anything for me at all, right? Now it does have a little washer insert there, so just like to clean all that extra oil off. I'm gonna take this backspacer off, and does that come out? Usually this comes out. Yeah, there we go. Just don't want to lose it when it falls out and you don't see where it goes, right? So we're going to clean some of all that oil off. Gets in there. I might just take that washer off. Now, the nice thing about these are steel, so usually I can use this with the magnet to get them out. Well, that's a pretty heavy, look at that. That's a heavy duty little washer there, man. They're not messing around there. I mean, we're talking like, you know, heavy duty grade there for sure, which is cool. This is definitely not milled out, so it's a good piece of aluminum right here. And you can see how far that frame, the lock bar is on the frame lock here. I am going to tune that. And you know me, I don't like super strong detents. I know some of you guys love them. And if you love them, you know, make your knife your own. Make it what you want it to be. Enjoy that knife. Do not make it anything that it's not, okay? So just enjoy that knife. You do with your knife what you want to do. Sorry, I had to laugh. I keep getting reminded by several people that I am apparently the Bob Ross of the knife community. And when I say that, I can't help but think of Bob Ross talking about making a happy little tree. And I feel like I'm like, make a happy little knife. Oh my gosh. So I don't know, if you guys, if you get a laugh out of that, great. If you enjoyed that, please do. I'm complimented by it, honestly, because Bob Ross was a, you know, I don't know if you knew, he was an Air Force drill instructor. So here's the Kickstop part. You can see there's a pin in here and two little washers. So we got little phosphor bronze washers on here. So let's kind of take this apart very carefully. So this is kind of like an itty bitty washer here. All right, very cool. Let's see if I can get into that little hole to clean it. All right, and let's look at these. And move that off to the side. Let's see, can we see that? So it's got a little bit of stuff on there. So what I like to do typically, like when I have access locks, you know, Benchmades or Able locks from Hogue or something, when I take them apart and I tune that access lock, I like to polish up those washers. So I'm going to do that real quick, just ever so slightly. Just because I think it's going to make it just action just a little bit better. And it doesn't hurt in case it wasn't smooth already. It was making a little bit of noise earlier, so we'll see. This may do absolutely nothing except for my OCD self to just have polished phosphor bronze washers. And, you know, if that's all it does, then, you know, no harm, no foul, right? So you can see how it polishes up a little bit. Can we get the reflection on there? You can see that it looks so much nicer. So any of that corrosion, oxidation that occurs with phosphor bronze, that's kind of taken care of. All right, so now I just need to make sure it's clean. Any of that polish from my leather strop is not there, so let's go ahead and put that there and just make sure we're cleaning all that out. These are very delicate little pieces. You don't want to lose these, right? So there we go. Yeah, definitely some cleaning agent on there. You can see that when I rub that off. So it's all right. I don't mind. But I would rather have that nice and clean. Definitely you can see much nicer there, right? All right, so let's look at these washers. These are the ones that are supposed to fit. These are the Skiffs 3/16, 0.189 inches, 0.370 inches. That's inner outer diameter. Thickness is 0.05 inches. It is a 3/16 pivot, 1/16 inch ball, 11 ball count. And so we have 11, and this one right here, if you look, is 2, 4, 6, so that's 9. So we're going from 9 to 11, which gives you a little more stability, better contact. So it should, in regards, give you just a better overall experience. Now, I don't know if I had these in something else, or I probably took these out and tried them in something, and I touched them, because you can see these have oxidized quite a bit, but I think that's because I took them out and I handled them. Probably, yeah, because I have other ones in my little bag here that are more polished, right? So, yeah, that's usually the case. So this should fit right on there, according to that. Yep, so that's a perfect fit. And it should fit right into that hole. Yep, that's a fit. So there we go. All right, so we're good to go. So now let's get back to, let's reassemble the knife. All right, so we had probably, oh, it looks like there's still a little bit on here. Okay, I'm gonna put that back on here. So I suspect this is not moving. They probably super glued, or there's a Loctite 780, or I forget what it's called, but it's like a real more permanent version of 242, not 248, not the paste version. It's like they use it in machinery, and you have to like get a heat gun to release it. All right, so here are our steel washers. So I'm going to put the ungrooved side. So what I'm talking about is like the original side here. You can see here, I don't know if we can see it on this one. Yeah, so you can see there's a little track right here. I don't know if we can get the right light, but there's a little track around. So I'm going to do the opposite side. So for that one, it would be the opposite over there, okay? So now I'm going to put this back on here. So this would fit on here like that. And then this would go on this side here. Oops. Okay. So the kickstop is going to be, like this. Oh, I need to get this side here. Like that. Okay. So then we're going to do, before we do that, we're going to put a little oil. So I have 85 nano oil, 85 weight. This tube's almost gone before I have to go to my KPL. But I am going to use as much as I can before I have to switch, because this stuff's not cheap. And I like nano oil too. Nano oil's good, just like KPL is good. So I just put a couple drops, not a lot. I used to do a bunch, but yeah, I'm okay with just having a little bit. But I am going to put some on this. This seems to be like a more of a wear part. Yeah, I might do a little bit in the track here. Just for that sake, and just a little over here. Yeah, put some on the detent ball. Oh wait, before I do that, I was going to tune that, wasn't I? So let's not waste that oil. We'll put it over here on the blade where the track's going to go. All right, so what I wanted to do is see how far that is. In order to do that, we have to take this over travel stop steel insert out, because that's going to prevent me from bending it out. So let me do that. Now this can be scary if you've never done this before. Think about when you work with any screws like this, you want to make sure you're flush. You're not wobbly around, that's going to mess up. And this, typically, if these are done well, they should just come straight out. You just kind of work them a little bit, and they should come straight out. Like you see, it's already starting to release there. So you just got to be patient. There we go. It comes right out like that. And it does have a little bit of oil on there, so I'm going to clean that off. All right. All right, so in order to do this, what I always recommend is a little at a time. Don't go crazy. Don't bend it like crazy going back. This is very thin right here, so you don't want to go crazy. All I'm looking for is I want it to come back a little bit. Now I'm taking, mind you, I'm taking into account this piece that's right on top of here, okay? So I'm looking at this part right here, and right now that is just right where that edge is right there. I want to be able to bring that in just a little bit. So I'm going to just try a little bit first, see what happens. Not much. Go a little bit more. Okay, it did go in a little bit. You see my nail can't go in all the way. I'm going to go just a hair more. Don't want to do a lot. Definitely just a little bit at a time. Don't go crazy. Still pretty good. All right, now we're getting close. So it's definitely, we moved from here down to here. So that's definitely a change. I don't have to go crazy on this, okay? I'd rather do a little bit, take it apart and do it a second time than do too much, right? Because you don't want to fatigue the metal. Even titanium will fatigue, and it'll break down the annealing of the steel together, the bonds that are in there. And that's what annealing does. It reconstitutes the bonds within the steel, right? It helps it to harden it and to strengthen that. And when you have metal fatigue, annealing can actually kind of repair the metal, if you will, in a kind of molecular way. So there you go, a little nerd outness for everybody, maybe more than you want it to have. All right, so based on this, I'm going to go ahead and put my over travel stop back in. And usually it's just a straight fit. You just kind of got to make sure you lay it straight down, and it'll probably slide right on in. There we go. So notice before how far it was up. It's not as far now, but it's still got plenty of room to engage that blade. So I am going to be fine with that. And this is the small screw that's going to lock that in place. I don't usually worry about putting Loctite on this, but you could. Okay, so when I say that is Loctite here, you know, as with anything, I shake it up, make sure it's nice and constituted, but then I also tap it down because I don't want it to spill out. Sometimes this thing spills out if you don't. Yeah, there it goes. It's going to spill a little bit there. See, yeah, I'm gonna have a mess, but it happens, so I'm okay. So I'm gonna go back over here just a little bit. We're gonna screw this in. I reverse thread first. Hear the click. All right, so now we're back. Put that over here. So I'm good here. I'm gonna put a little oil, right like I had before, on here. Just a touch, drop. Not much. Patience. Don't go crazy. If you're not patient, you just squeeze, it's gonna pour everywhere. You don't want that. It's gonna be kind of a bummer. All right, so now we're gonna put our blade in. We've got to make sure we line that up with the kickstop, but let's put a little drop here. Okay. You see how that lined in right like that? It fits right in there. That's nice. Now, because that's metal on metal, what I am going to do, typically, this is the part that engages the tang right over here. I'm going to put just a little bit on here, because this is where the detent ball will track. This is the detent ball track. And one thing I did notice, and I did mention, and I think in my unboxing, I don't think I talked about this, but there is a ramp right here. And I noticed it was kind of smooth going up the ramp. And I wondered, was there a ramp? And there really is. So let's see if we can see that. So right there is a little ramp where the detent ball kind of goes softly up. It doesn't have to go a full 90 degrees over that. So that's really cool. I think that's really neat. Put the washer on top. All right, and then we're gonna put our backstop on here. So I know which one it is. So this is gonna fit right through here because there's no hole where the screw would come through. So we're gonna stick that in there. Okay. We're almost ready to assemble all the rest of our screws, okay? Hopefully that washer won't pop out. Traditionally, it ends up falling out for me. Maybe this is the exception today. Okay, all right, so it's in. So what I want to do is put my... I'm going to hold that down because I don't want to lose it. Get my screw, get my pivot screw. Ah, I just lost it. Put my screw on here. It's got a lot of pressure, so that's fine. Kind of expected. So I just want to have a little bit on here. You can see that? Don't let go. So let's go ahead and thread that through. Reverse thread. Hear the click. I think that was it. It's not a clean click like I would like it to be, but close enough. All right, so the blade is centered. That's cool. All right, so let's go ahead and do the 2 screws that go on this side, these longer screws. Now there's a whole lot of threading going through here. I'm only really worried about the end, I think. I don't want to have too much stuff everywhere. Okay. And just for sake, both of these screws are the same. If they weren't, you want to pay real close attention if they're not. Sometimes they're not the same, okay? And here I want to make sure this back spacer gets in play where it needs to be. Let's see if we can wiggle that over. Yeah, there we go. Now I'm reverse threading, waiting for the click. Yeah, I like that. Action's a little better now. For me, I like to see that drop shut. And you know, I could probably lighten that detent a little bit more, but I haven't really. I did tighten this pivot up a bit. So let's see if we can. We're dead center. No blade rock. Yeah, perfect. That's what I want right there. All right, so now let's go ahead and put the different. I know you guys are probably like, no, you can't do that. That's a cool. It is cool. I like it. But look, it's so much wider, and I'm having friction on there. Now, if this has a lot of friction too, what I'll end up doing is I'll take this off, and I will probably buff that out on my Work Sharp belt sander. I did that on another knife by Riot where this was really strong, and I rounded it a bit and it made it a lot smoother because that's kind of coarse there, right? And you can polish that up and that'll go in and out of the pocket and still have enough retention. That may be my alternative just because I'm nitpicky like that. You know, I like to have it fit like it should. As you can see, I polished this particular clip to this, and you can see the very high polish that occurred, which allows me to put it on top of the knife, and you can compare the two. I also polished the back of it so that it would sit better and closer. It's very smooth and allows easy in and out of the pocket as opposed to this, which was still pretty rough and had squared off a bit. So you can see the more rounded edge here, which I think is much, much better. And especially when you compare the two together, it's really, really quite outstanding. And then on the knife, you can see this. It just simply is 10 times better. All right, so again, I'm checking both screws are the same, so we're good. It doesn't matter which one goes in. Put it on there, and we'll just put a little on there. Don't need much. Come on. There we go. Okay, I'm not going to tighten it just yet. I want to get both of them in there. Okay, we're in there. All right. No blade rock. Let's see, are we dead center? Yeah, we're dead center. Okay. I like that. That to me makes it more enjoyable to have that drop shut. Especially as heavy as this blade is, it should drop shut. I mean, even if the detent is strong, it should still drop shut because that is not a light blade. I'm gonna tell you, that's one of my more robust blades I've ever had on a knife. So, you know, this is not a little boy. This is a big boy here. Okay, so yeah, I do like that. I do like that. All right, so we're gonna try this clip out. If we like it, I'm not gonna talk much more about it. Well, you know what? Let me just try it real quick since I'll just try to put it in my pocket and see what goes. It's a little tight. Yeah, it's a little tight. I might want to buff that out when I have a little time. I think I might do that. Yeah, definitely. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So, can I point to it? Yeah, so we'll just use this. So you see this little part right here, it comes down. It's pretty sharp, and this one has a nice smooth ramp. And what I'd like to see is a belly kind of come up and down like that. This part right here, going in is not a problem, but coming out, this is going to really grip, especially because it's almost a more right angle. That's about a 45-degree angle. That's probably like a 30-degree angle. And so there's less pressure being pushed down than there is on this one. So as it comes in, it's leveraging it up, so it's easy push. But when you come back, all the weight's pushing is going to be pushing there, and so it's pushing this way, not that way. Where this weight, it's pushing that way. I don't know if you can understand that. So it goes up this way instead of pushing that way. So it's going, and if you're it's stationary, you're pushing that way, it's gonna easy to bend. But if you're pushing this way, you're not getting it to move up. You're just resisting going back. And so to me, that angle going in and out, now I get it. It's a big knife. You don't want it to fall out. And so maybe the idea is that it's a big knife. You don't want it to flip in and out. So I get that part. You know, maybe, you know, for folks, that's the most important thing. And if it is, then this is great. This will work exactly like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably polish that a little bit so it's a little smoother and it's not resisting. Because if you notice, it's beautiful stone wash, right? But it's also stone washed under here. And you can see how that part is flat. Do you see that? That's flat. If that was more rounded, it would be easier to overcome. And that rounded point would be fine, but that flatness is what sometimes causes an issue. And I had that in the Urban EDC LC. Let me see if I can reach that and not knock the camera. I'm trying to grab it real quick. Yeah, so this is a made knife as well. And I hope I didn't mess up the mic. But do you see, let's get there. You see that little clip right there? That one was really, really flat, and I polished that really well. And so that clip works really nice going in and out of the pocket now. It doesn't rip and tear. It was really flat, and so it's more rounded and allows it to go in and out of the pocket so much easier. And I don't know if I can show that on here, but let's see if we can do that. Maybe force that. Yeah, it's going to be hard with this cloth. But you can see that when I pull out, it's going over the edge. It's a little smoother. But if I do that on here, going in wasn't a problem because, right, that 30-degree angle, but watch when I pull out. Okay, now it's not doing it here because we're kind of thick, but let's kind of get over the lip there. So a lot of times, and you want to pull this. And so now you see where all that pressure is now applying up here at the top. And what that does, if it was totally flat, it would be fine. But because the pressure is applying this way and not this way, it's going to resist coming out, which is great if you don't want to lose your knife and if you're jogging, you're sprinting around, with your knife, you have a big knife like this and you're running a full sprint and marathon or whatever, then yeah, great. But if you're like the normal person who just carries a knife walking around, the house or your yard or whatever, I'm not running from zombies or anything, it's not as convenient, let me put it to you that way. Unless you have thinner pants, lighter pockets, that's the case. And I can already see that it's not making full contact. So when I do that, you can hear that. See, it's not making full contact. I would have to probably bend that down just a little bit to make the contact when I round it. I would do the same on this one too. And you know what? I'd probably do this one first. Yeah, I don't know. People who love this thing, if I ever decide to sell it, I'll leave this one alone, right? I'll leave this one alone. And we'll just do it on this one over here. And because people who are faithful to Chavez and love his skull, they're gonna want this the original and untouched. So, and they may not care about the other clip as much. And people who want this other clip probably want it a little more discreet, care more about comfort and fitting in and out of your pocket. So they would probably appreciate that. So we'll leave this one alone. We'll save that in the box and have it for the next person, right? Because if the next person wants this, then I want to be able to be truthful and faithful to their wishes when it comes to that. So there we go. That's the video. I really like the action much better. When I do flip it, it's a little easier to flip, especially with that kickstop. And I've noticed because it's not the detent is still, to me, I still think it's a medium detent, medium to medium high detent. I don't see this as a light detent at all. The one before that was a very high, medium to heavy detent. Really, it was really kind of ridiculous because the blade this heavy should not be unable to drop. I mean, the weight of this blade is probably the weight of this whole knife, right? It should not have any resistance to drop. It should be able to, like a bull in a china shop, it should go right through. And now it does. But there's a strong enough detent, you can still see it when I do this. So still clicks in. It's in there solid. I can still flip it. I'm barely just touching it. I mean, like let's say I would do it aggressively. strong deployment. You see that? I mean, I can feel that. Bam, you know, nice, right? So that's nice. But with that being said, and having that in place, and oh, by the way, the lockup, no blade play, still nice and solid, good 20-30% there, which is what we want, right? Sometimes when you, it's something to think about, when you loosen your detent, you've always got to be careful not to loosen it too much where this doesn't engage. You don't want it so light that this doesn't lock up, right? Sometimes they'll have a strong detent because they really want to get in there in the bar. Now, it could be because they should have maybe filed this down a little bit more, but I would not modify your angles or your tang on your blade at all. That's something you really got to know what you're doing, because you can totally screw it up. Because if you mess it up and it can't engage, it can't lock up, and it slips out, you could cut yourself really badly. I can already tell you that I'm suddenly enjoying this knife a whole lot more with that detent. This almost made it a completely different knife for me. What the heck is going on? Why is that the case? That is really cool. I am super excited about this now. Because I was not, if you saw my unboxing, I wasn't super excited. Oh gosh, now I'm really loving this thing. Okay, all right, we'll see how the review goes, but I went from whatever to yeah, okay. And I'm thinking I'm going into, oh yeah, you know, so I don't know what those levels are, but you know, for me, that's cool. And I'm enjoying that. That's really nice. Yeah, so that's the only thing I feel like I got to do now is just do that. I've already done that on another clip, and then I'll bend that in. And what it is when I say bend it in, I'm not going to bend it. It probably, it could be that it's not leveled over here. And if you were to, if I were to file that down where the edge back here, it would go down a little bit, then it would make the more contact. So, you know, I could do that by filing this back here a little bit, or I could do that by bending it. And I think the angle here is pretty straight. So to not make this weird looking, I might just, when I buff this part, I might just buff that part. So, hey, if you followed this video and you've found this interesting, informative, helpful, cool. If you enjoyed everything about this, or at least thought it was funny, interesting, something worth your time, even if you zoom through it and you just wanted to get to the sections you wanted to get to, awesome. I appreciate you watching. Maybe you would consider hitting the like button down below. I would really appreciate that. I would really appreciate that. Boy, I can't talk. And if you already hit the like button, would you consider hitting the subscribe button? Liking and subscribing my videos really helps out my channel, and it helps us to grow, helps us to be able to do more content, do more things. And I think it's cool for the channel and cool for you guys. And if you've already hit the subscribe button, maybe consider hitting the notification button so you can be notified of future content as I release it. And if you've done all that, hey, check me out over on Instagram if you haven't already. That's Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Again, on Instagram at robs_nerdy_knives. Hey, thanks so much for watching. You guys have a great day and a great week. Bye.